Good evening. We're in Studio 6A today, and it's May 30th, 2025. It's my honor and pleasure to be speaking with Mr. John J. Jeckovich. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you.
You're looking well. Did you have a nice dinner?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich was from Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich lives by the motto, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. Today is a gift. We're reading Mr. Jeckovich's book titled Their Mother's Sons. It's second time around, and we're on Chapter 6. And what Chapter 6 is titled as Home on Furlough and Farewell to Anne. Now this is page 137, where Mr. Jeckovich had a few weeks furlough from basic training, and now he's getting ready to go overseas. So the first part of your furlough, you went to see your mother and sister in Niagara Falls, correct? And then the second part of your furlough, you went down to Owensboro, Kentucky to visit Anne Mahaney. Okay. That's where we'll pick up then. In order to open up the book in the laptop, I'll need your dog tag number.
42965.
All right, thank you. So here we are. You just got to Owensboro a few days ago. As we reached the house, a feeling okay, let me start all over again. Page 137. But I was overriding, okay, now you're going to Anne's mother's house. As we reached the house, feeling of apprehension came over me at the thought of Anne's mother and what she must be thinking. Anne anticipated my thoughts and said overhandedly, her mother was working and we had the house to ourselves. I felt relieved, began to relax and enjoy my time with Anne in the ideal setting. Could you describe Anne's house in Owensboro, Kentucky?
Modern.
It was very nice.
Modest.
So was your mother nice?
Oh, yes, very nice person.
Pardon me?
She was a nice person.
She was a nice lady?
Yeah.
What happened to her husband?
I guess he got killed in an accident.
Oh, yeah. So your father was dead?
Yeah.
And her father was dead?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, okay. It was the essence of her entire... wait a minute. While she prepared breakfast, I watched her as she sat at the kitchen table. She was practiced maneuvering the various pots and utensils. She moved with certainty and confidence. Was it a nice kitchen or just a regular kitchen?
Yeah.
Was the houses close together?
Yeah. Well, moderately.
She looked wonderful and acutely feminine in her apron, whilst a large floral imprint on her pocket. The sound of her pumps on a wooden floor and the sight of her upper leg, explicit the slit in her skirt, it ruptured. As we sat at the kitchen table, opposite one another, struck me this would be our married life together. These last few days, and nothing would intervene to distort this magnificence. Isn't it interesting? This was in the 1940s. And for some reason, how time goes by so quickly, after a few more days with Anne in Owensboro, Kentucky, you were shipped overseas.
Yeah.
And you didn't lie. You did tell you'd call her. But it was 80 years later.
Yeah.
88 decades later, you kept your promise that you would call her, and ironically, she answered the phone.
She answered the phone, yeah.
How'd she sound?
Kind of feeble, yeah.
Yeah, she's in her 90s by now.
Yeah.
Late 90s, mid 90s. But you kept your promise. You said that you were going to call her. Wow. And for many decades, you kept her picture when, as you remember, a girl in her 20s or teens,
Yeah.
on your wall in your office.
Yeah.
And after you hung up that conversation from 80 years later, what did you do with her picture?
Put it wrapped up in the towel, put it in the closet.
And in the place of the stained wall that was just bleached because the picture covered it for almost 70 or 80 years, what picture did you put
Well,
there?
my mother, yeah.
So now we can make it a full circle.
Yeah.
They're mother's sons. But I think it's just a little known miracle that you picked up the phone, dialed the number, she's still in Owensboro, Kentucky, and she literally answered the phone.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Wow. Now your other girlfriend, Renee, she was a nun, and she got word in the convent 2 or 3 months apart that the Nazis killed and tortured her mother and father. I imagine her mother and father were only in their early 40s or late 30s
Yeah.
at the time. This is when the Nazis occupied Paris for 4 or 5 years. And then a month or two later, Renee would
23.
would get notice at the convent that her 2 younger teenage brothers were killed, tortured, and murdered by the Nazis.
Yeah.
So your second girlfriend left the convent and she went to downtown Paris where she had a flat she rented, a studio on 1 floor,
Yeah.
art studio, and like the little apartment below. And she was painting all, at the time it was the Nazis occupied France, she was painting all the portraits of the SS and high-ranking officers.
Yeah.
Why did she do that?
Because the officers wanted their paintings, personal paintings.
They had great big egos,
Yeah.
and they wanted to see someone with great talent paint them.
Yeah.
But what was Renee doing?
They were talking among themselves, so she's picking up a lot of information.
Yeah. She joined the French resistance, the French underground, and she was painting all these top Nazi officers' portraits to be like a fly on the wall,
Yeah.
to hear what was going on. And she related to the underground.
Yeah.
Were you ever at the French resistance underground office?
No, it's a crummy place. It's down in the sewer.
And what did it look like?
Stunk.
But they were never discovered.
No.
And so she relayed that information that she gathered. And then what finally happened to Renee?
Well, they finally discovered what she's doing, and they killed her.
Took her out back and blew her brains out. So Ann Mahaney we called 80 years later. Renee, we know what happened to her. And then his other girlfriend was Jean Rowland Young. And she was from Haverford West in Wales. Mr. Jeckovich spent a lot of time with her. She was a fine young lady. Her father was the mayor of Haverford West at the time. And it was a nice arrangement. And at times, because there was such a shortage on food, you'd have your buddies take the 6x6, load it up with food, and bring it to their house.
Give the mess hall size, give her stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And what size were these cans?
Number 10 cans, big cans.
Could you show me in your hands how big they are? Just hold up your hands. Were they like this?
No, they're about as big as that white bowl there.
Okay. And were they very appreciative when you brought them the food?
Oh yeah, because they never had that food. Everything was scarce there.
Yeah, because in Wales, everything was short supply.
Yeah.
Short supply. And she was a fine young lady. And the story goes on. Mr. Jeckovich was in a caller after the war, but there again, it was an 80-year-old call. Took him 80 years. Couldn't reach her. We took a few steps, hired private investigators from London. They went to the locations. They went to the neighbors. Came up with zero. Came up with zero. We went a step further. The Daily Mail, which at times has a daily circulation of 1 million.
Yeah.
We had them write a full-page story about Mr. Jeckovich and Jean Rowland Young to locate her.
19 minutes.
Full-page story, million circulation. We came up zero. Came up absolutely nothing. The story's published still to this day. From time to time, every 3 or 4 months, we'll get a different investigator, and maybe he knows more. Maybe he has more access to see what happens, because we found the first two, that ended, and now the third one, we're going to see what happened to Jean Rowland Young. But they were really happy when he brought them all those canned goods.
Yeah.
What was in those number 10 cans?
The fruit, cocktail, corn, spaghetti.
You spent many a time with Jean Rowland Young, and many times it was a blackout.
Yeah.
And what did you see going overhead on a daily?
Spitfires.
And how did they sound?
Oh, the exhaust coming out of their pipes at the back was scary.
A lot of racket.
No, and they're all going over to bomb Germany.
And they'd do it morning, noon, and night.
Yeah.
The Spitfires would go right across your head low when you were in Haverford West at night, and there was lots of flames coming out of them.
Yeah.
A pilot sat in a really crude conditions on the Spitfire.
They're real tight.
Real tight. You got to be a skinny guy. You got to be skinny like Mr. Jeckovich, 151 pounds. And you see them coming back. Many times, if you've seen 30 going across, you might only see 10 coming back.
Yeah.
They were bombing the hell out of Germany, night and day and day and night.
all the resources.
And all our Air Force was doing the same.
Yeah, day and night.
So there was nothing but rubble. More wars, more rubble. What a shame. So many innocent people slaughtered because of
All those civilians.
Yeah, because of one rotten madman named Adolf Hitler. Yeah. Isn't that sad? One rotten madman, all these millions of deaths. For example, 16,400,000 young men and women from the United States participated in World War II. We have half of a 1% left. As far as Mr. Jeckovich was a combat frontline infantry soldier. How many months did you stay out in the fields before getting inside?
Say again?
How many months did you stay out in the fields before?
All year.
A whole year.
Never stayed in the house.
Mr. Jeckovich was the frontline combat infantry soldier. And we have less than 6,000 of these guys left. Maybe less. And we're losing them at a rate of 150 a day. Most of them are in their late 90s, early 100s. Mr. Jeckovich was shot in the shoulder by a sniper, beat up face to face, stabbed, dirty bomb blew over his head, still has shrapnel in his leg.
Lost a hip. Yeah.
Trench foot, frostbite.
Still got the trench foot. Still got it right
Frostbite
here.
every night.
Yeah.
80 years later, it just is like a needle pounding down on your feet. Frostbite. We learned a lot of things from World War II. One of the small things we learned, if you're out there skiing or in cold weather and you have starting to get the first signs of frostbite, don't run into the ski lodge and sit in front of the fireplace. Make a snowball, stay outside, and run that snowball over the potential frostbite, and that'll get the legs circulating again. Yeah. That'll get the legs circulating again. So that's a very interesting fact. And if you have any questions for Mr. Jeckovich, you can text him at 407-366-0000. 407-366-0000. We've been reading his book off and on for 2 years. There's about 600
13.
podcasts, and Mr. Jeckovich has answered hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions. His mind is like a library. Anything you want to ask him, ask him. Even something, let's just say, about marriage. How long were you married for?
69 years.
69 years. So there you go. Mr. Jeckovich, when he proposed to Delphine Stulak in the Roman Catholic Basilica in Tonawanda, New York, she accepted his hand in marriage, and then they walked up to the altar, they said a short prayer, and they both asked for a long and happy marriage. How'd that prayer work out?
69 years.
It was answered. Wow. It was answered. Mr. Jeckovich worked for Kimberly Clark for 35 years, a paper maker. He also had a snowplow business, a laundromat. What was those laundromats called?
Duplex yard wash.
Did a lot of carpentry work, construction work. Did you also do wallpaper?
Yeah.
Wow. And most of the work he did was for relatives and friends. He did most of it for free, and many times he supplied his own materials, right?
Yeah.
Wow. You must have built everything from A to Z.
Yeah.
When you were a young boy, you went with your father on a regular basis to 151 Buffalo Avenue in Niagara Falls, New York, and you worked at the Franchatone Mansion.
Yeah.
What kind of work did you do for Franchatone?
She put the stone windows up, took them down, put a roof, fixed food cellar up downstairs.
What else?
And we built a dollhouse for his daughter, Sally.
Daughter. Isn't it interesting that the Franchatone Mansion was built in the 1840s? The father, Franchatone, bought it in 1907. It was the best location, I think, in the world. It sat right on the rapids, and a couple 100 yards down from that was the actual drop of the falls.
Yeah.
So 24/7 you have a roar,
Yeah.
a beautiful sound of roaring water. The mist from the falls is always on your backyard. What a wonderful way to sleep. Put up all your windows, listen to the roar, listen to the coolness of the air. What a nice way. Did you work for both the father and the son, Franchatone?
Yeah.
Which one did you prefer working for?
Franchatone, the son.
The son?
Yeah.
Was he a good guy?
Oh, he's a good guy, yeah. He was an actor and everything.
Yeah, he was a big-time actor, probably the only big-time actor that came out of Niagara Falls. If you Google Franchatone, he was married to like the A-list people. He was married 5 times. He did many TV shows, and believe it or not, including Bonanza, and a lot of big movies.
Yeah.
He died in 1963. He was a chain smoker. He lit one cigarette after another. Lung cancer. Took his life away in his early 60s. His father wasn't an actor, But his father was the president of Carborundum, or slash owner, a large factory, still going today. And he got Mr. Jekovich's mother and father a job there.
Yeah.
Your mother worked there for so long, they pretty much had to run her out, right?
Yeah, they wanted to get her out.
She was in her 80s, still working there. She loved the job. She loved being with the people. And what did the younger potential workers say to her?
So look, you had your chance to raise your kids. Give me a chance to do my own kids.
So the younger people want to get in.
Yeah.
And your mother left?
Yeah.
9
After a year.
9.
After a year. Did your mother, what type of work did she do?
Small wheels inspector.
That must have been hard on her eyes.
Yeah.
Damn.
She didn't wear glasses either.
No? That was hard on her eyes. Anyways, the story gets a little bit longer about Mr. Jeckovich and Franchitone. Him and his Franchitones and his father both were alumni of Cornell University, and they got his brother in Cornell, right?
Yeah.
That was beautiful. You got your mother working at Carborundum. And they had a beautiful 39 Packard. Somehow your dad worked out a deal with them, and he ended up with a 39 Packard.
Yeah.
Did your father have a driver's
No,
license?
my father and mother didn't drive, no.
Both your mother didn't drive?
No.
So your dad ended up buying from the Franchitones a beautiful, I'd call it a land yacht. It's 21 feet long. 21 feet long. A beautiful Packard. A Packard was made in the United States, and it was a solid car. It went toe to toe with the Cadillac.
No.
It went toe to toe with the Cadillac.
Yeah.
And it had a massive hood ornament on it. And the hood ornament was named a flying goddess of speed.
Yeah.
And it looked like some lady was holding like a frisbee. And sometimes they nickname today the frisbee cars. Big car, suicide doors, big steel straight 8 engine. It was a nickname also, the Mafia staff car. It was huge. So your father really loved that car.
Yeah. He sat in the garage until Stevie got a hold of it.
That's your brother.
Yeah.
And then when you went into service, when you were drafted in the World War II, it was still sitting in your garage.
Say what?
When you got drafted in World War II, it was still sitting in your garage.
Sitting in the garage, yeah.
When you came home from World War
It
II,
was gone.
what happened?
They sold it. Somebody sold it.
I mean, but you gave almost all your pay to your mother.
Yeah.
They sell it because of financial reason, or they just didn't want it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was gone and never seen again. But your brother, 50 years later, tried to buy one similar and restore it.
Yeah.
How did he do it that?
He worked on a running board, but that's as far as he got. He had newspapers in the back seat.
So he was storing newspapers in it? Yeah. That happens a
Sat
lot.
in the garage then.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, in 1961, the Franchitones sold the mansion, and on that property today, it was built in 61, 62. It's called Parkway Apartments. It's a high-rise, but they have a beautiful view. They have a great view. But could you just imagine an apartment building being built that many years ago, 60 plus years ago, the functional and obsolescence, the small bathrooms, the small doors,
Yeah.
the low ceilings,
Yeah.
the tiny kitchens.
Inadequate heat.
Yeah, they have it. That's just the way it was in 61 when they built the Parkway Apartments. I think it might be 20 or 25 stories high. I'm just guessing, but it's a tall building, and it's right on the rapids, a stone's throw from the ocean. But the building itself is totally functionally obsolescent, totally. It's just, I think the only way to go there is bulldoze it down and start over.
Yeah.
Bulldoze it down and start over. Just imagine the wiring and the plumbing and Everything under the sun needs to be replaced. And you're
Everything
not,
is obsolete.
yeah, and you're not gonna jack up those ceilings. You have to start fresh. You would have to really start fresh. So that's an interesting part. Also, when you were growing up in the Falls, you had a paper route. And what was that paper route titled at?
Gina Kuczynski,
And all Polish paper.
the Polish paper, yeah.
Yeah. Did your mother subscribe?
Yeah, she did.
Did she like it?
Well, she read the obituary.
Just your obituaries, yeah. And then you worked at the movie theater.
Saturn Cataract, yeah.
Were they extremely busy?
Oh, yeah, especially on weekends.
What did you have to do there?
I had to get walking up and down the airplane. There was an empty seat. They would flash my light. If I flashed it twice, there's 2 empty seats here for customers to come to bring 2 customers down and have a seat.
It sounds like an enjoyable job.
Yeah,
Was there any fallbacks to the job?
yeah, but I kept watching the same movie over and over.
So you knew the words by heart?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Besides that, was the job pretty easy?
Well, I worked every day after school.
How about on weekends?
Weekends were bad. Big weekends, I had to put the ropes up to keep the crowd controlled.
It was that many people, huh?
Yeah, it was real busy on weekends.
And then most of the kids go to the horror movies during the weekends?
Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning I went to, yeah.
Played horror movies?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Well, they got excited at Peter Pan and everything.
So the young kids were watching a horror movie and it scared them.
Yeah.
And so how'd you have to handle that?
Well, Landis said get the place cleaned up. It smells all over.
And every Saturday was the same thing?
Yeah.
Jeez. And right next to it was SS Kresge's, where your mother also worked as a cook.
Yeah.
Didn't you go there after school and get a real nice sandwich from her?
Well, I should give you a sandwich down in the basement near the candy room.
Okay. So she wouldn't let you open up and sit at the restaurant or the lunch counter. Your mother said you better go in the basement.
Yeah, and don't make a mess.
So she was afraid that you would have made a mess, right?
Yeah.
Were you a sloppy person?
No.
I wonder why your mother made you eat in the basement.
Well, she didn't want to think she's taking favors from the company she worked for.
Oh, okay, I understand. And what did you do at SS Kresge's?
SS Kresge's?
What'd you do there?
Scrape the gum off the floors.
What'd you use?
Scrape a spuddy knife.
Was there always a lot of gum?
Oh yeah. Landis said get all that gum off the floor, John.
Like today, you read in the paper many times a day, there's all this shoplifting every minute. Was there shoplifting during those times?
No.
Zero.
No, nothing.
Nothing. Minutes, please. So there was absolutely no shoplifting then. I'll be damned.
9.5.
From when you left SS Kresge's,
Yeah.
that was a long haul back to 3063 Orleans Avenue. How'd you get there?
What?
Did you walk with your...
I had an old car then.
Oh, then you had an old car?
Yeah.
Like what was an old car? What was it? Make?
Plymouth.
Plymouth, was it nice?
Well, it was an old car, green one.
Did your mother drive with you?
No. Well, she drove it, but she never drove the car.
But she drove with you?
Well, yeah, because then I had to take her shopping, and then she liked to go to Canada a lot, too.
Why'd she go to Canada?
She thought the food was better, and she could do shopping there.
Wow.
And there was no restrictions there is today over in Canada.
Yeah, like today there's a gazillion restrictions. You know, American can't even buy a vacation home in Canada nowadays.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, can't even buy it. But if the Canadians can come here and buy everything, right? And so your mother, you take her to Canada. When you drove around your mother, did she sit in the front or the back seat?
My mother sat in the back seat.
She would always sit in the back seat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were the chauffeur.
Huh?
You were like the chauffeur.
Minutes?
30
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
20 seconds.
Tell us the story when your mother was coming over back to Niagara Falls from Canada,
guy at the gate asked me out in the claimant, and I said, no, I don't have anything. And they turned around, well, do you have it? Oh, yes, I have these teeth.